Buccaneers at Bills. It's hard to believe these Buffalo Bills are Super Bowl bound when they've lost to the Dolphins by 17 points and to the Falcons by 10 points. That would be like Ben Affleck getting turned down for dates by Greta Thunberg and Nancy Pelosi and still marrying Jennifer Lopez. Norman Chad. Welcome to Gambling Mad with Norman Chad. I am Norman Chad. Coming up on the program today, baseball players can be bums. Stephen A. Smith is a bum. And have you seen my NFL picks lately? I am also a bum. Gambling Mad, as always, brought to you by Fritos, picked fresh off of Central California trees each morning, delivered directly to your local retailer each afternoon, and by the refreshing taste of Fresca. Fritos and Fresca. It's a meal. Just once, I'd like to open Gambling Mad with good gambling news. Hey folks, everyone won all their bets last week, and gambling addiction is on the downswing. It doesn't work that way. Most gamblers lose, and many people become problem gamblers. And now on top of that, we have gambling scandals piling onto gambling scandals with college and professional athletes dipping their toes into illicit waters. Which brings us to the two Cleveland Guardians pitchers sidelined this summer because of alleged gambling improprieties. This week, Emmanuel Clase and Luis Ortiz were indicted on charges relating to allegedly rigging pitches during games. The charges include wire fraud and conspiring to influence sporting contests by bribery. This all concerns prop betting once again. You can actually wager on whether a particular pitch, say the first pitch of the third inning, is going to be a ball or a strike. Both Clase and Ortiz are alleged to purposely throw balls instead of strikes, collaborating with gamblers who would wager on that particular pitch. In the games in question, we can see Clase throwing a pitch into the dirt, making sure that it would be called a ball. Gamblers reportedly won $400,000 on in-game prop betting conducted with Clase and Ortiz. In one instance, June 15th game, Ortiz allegedly was paid $5,000 to throw a rigged pitch, and Clase got $5,000 to arrange the rigged pitch. $5,000. Okay. Ortiz was making $820,000 this season. Clase, a three-time All-Star, made $6.4 million this season. So why, might you ask, would a player threaten his livelihood for $5,000 or $10,000? I mean, even if it were $1 million you would get just for throwing a single pitch, why gamble on throwing away your career? Because chances are it's going to be found out, and when it is, the player will be banned for life from MLB and will face jail time. So why do this? Well, people are often stupid, and people are often greedy. When you combine stupid and greedy, you often get some real bad decision making. This reminds me of the great 1954 film On the Waterfront, starring Marlon Brando as an ex-boxer. There's a famous scene where the fighter, the ex-prize fighter, Terry Malloy, asks his brother Charlie, who managed him, why they went for the short end of money taking a dive instead of pursuing a long, profitable career in the ring. Brando, as Terry, says, "You don't understand. I could have had class. I could have been a contender. I could have been somebody instead of a bum, which is what I am." Always in sports, everyone is one mistake away from being a bum. Stephen A. Smith, the loudest voice on ESPN, is a bum. Of course, he makes more than $20 million a year. to be the noisiest carnival barker on TV. Plus, he makes another $12 million annually from Sirius XM. So he's a rich bum. Hey, would I rather be a rich bum or a poor podcaster? I'll get back to you on that. But let's detail Stephen A. Smith's latest indiscretion. As you may recall, Stephen A. was ridiculed earlier this year when he was caught playing solitaire on his phone during the NBA Finals. And when I say during the NBA Finals, I mean while play was going on. Action was going on the floor, not during a timeout. The man they pay millions to come on halftime and tell us what's going on was on his phone trying to beat a solitaire game. Not only was Stephen A. unapologetic, he turned this fiasco into fortune. All of a sudden, he shows up now on TV commercials as the official ambassador for a solitaire app called Solitaire Cash. As usual, Stephen A. landed on his feet carrying a satchel of cash. But the story doesn't end there. Solitaire Cash is owned by Papaya Gaming. Papaya Gaming was recently found to have defrauded customers. A court ruled that Papaya placed bots into real money games. That would be pretty shady, but Stephen A. is still going to cash his Papaya Gaming checks. But the story doesn't end there either. 3 ESPN personalities joined Stephen A. endorsing Solitaire Cash on social media. NFL analyst Mina Kimes, NFL Live host Laura Rutledge, and NBA analyst Kendrick Perkins all posted on X. Yikes! After Papaya's fraud lawsuit was revealed, Kimes and Rutledge deleted their posts. To Kimes' credit, she took responsibility for not vetting the whole thing. She said she was deeply embarrassed and called it, quote, a colossal F-up on my part. Stephen A., of course, has not given an inch. His only comments on the situation were to attack former ESPN colleague Michelle Beadle for attacking him and his solitaire partnership. Best I can tell, ESPN will do next to nothing about Stephen A.'s Papaya deal, and Stephen A. will run to the bank again. As I mentioned earlier, it's good to be a rich bum. Donald Trump, who currently resides in the White House, wants the new Washington Commanders NFL stadium to be named after him. This according to ESPN's Don Van Natta Jr. and Adam Schefter. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt told ESPN that attaching Trump to the D.C. Dome, quote, would be a beautiful name as it was Donald Trump who made the rebuilding of the new stadium possible. That is not true at all, but no surprise there. We'll just leave that be. There is a certain odd symmetry if the $3.7 billion dome becomes another Trump-branded property. The new stadium is going to be built on the site of the old stadium in Washington. That was RFK Stadium, originally DC Stadium in 1961, renamed for Robert F. Kennedy in 1969 after his assassination the previous year. Of course, Trump has been the target of 2 assassination attempts himself, and he named RFK's son, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., to single-handedly destroy America's health and welfare as Health and Human Services Secretary. Now, considering the long history of Trump-branded entities, Trump Tower, Trump Taj Mahal, Trump Winery, Trump Ice, Trump Steaks, Trump Vodka, Trump Mobile, Trump the Game, Trump Magazine, Trump Shuttle, Trump Airlines, and Trump University, among others. It's no surprise that Trump wants the football stadium in the nation's capital to bear his name. But my sources indicate that he is not stopping there. By the end of his current term, Trump's plans also will include the Washington Monument will become the Trump Monument. The Lincoln Memorial will become the Trump Memorial. The Statue of Liberty will become the Statue of Trump. Even the small town of Truth or Consequences, New Mexico, is slated to become Trump or Consequences, New Mexico. Actually, I kind of like that one. Plus, the president also will turn to the private sector to widen his legacy. TripAdvisor will become Trump Advisor. Trader Joe's will become Trader Trump's. Ruth's Chris will become Trump's Ruth's Chris. Buffalo Wild Wings will become Trump Wild Wings. And as a gift to his hardest working eldest son, Carl's Jr. will be rebranded Donald's Jr. But wait, there's more. To tell you about Donald Trump's most audacious and ambitious rebranding, let's go over to the big map. Here's a look at Donald Trump's master plan. By 2028, he will rename the United States of America to the United States of Trump. He will divide the nation into 4 sections or provinces: Trump East, Trump Central, Trump West, and the massive Trump South. Each province will have a capital. Those are to be named later, but we understand that Mar-a-Lago is the favorite to be capital of Trump South. In addition, Trump's plan is to sell California to Mexico for $10 billion, plus Mexico will pay for the new border wall around California. And to replace California as our 50th state, Trump will annex, yes, Canada is back in play. And of course, Canada will be renamed Trump North. In Phoenix today, a scorching 118 degrees. Traffic and weather all weekend long on the 5s. Now back to the desk. It's time for our historical fact of the week, brought to you by HistoryFacts.com. In 1937, a public works street sweeper by the name of Joseph Figlock was cleaning an alley in Detroit when a baby girl fell out of a 4th-story apartment window and landed on his head. The baby miraculously survived, and Figlock had minor injuries. Less than 1 year later, while Figlock was again working, a baby boy fell out of another 4th-story window and again landed on Figlock's head. This baby also survived, and Figlock was uninjured. What are the chances? This historical fact, courtesy of HistoryFacts.com, another one of our fine unpaid sponsors. But by the way, what are the chances? According to 2 recreational poker friends of mine, Neil Weber and Scott Packer, the chances of 2 babies falling onto one man's head in consecutive years from a 4th-story window and surviving are approximately 50-50. It either happens or it doesn't. We now bring you our current fact of the week. And what the heck? Our current fact of the week, also brought to you by HistoryFacts.com. Why not? They're good people. This past weekend in the NFL, the Cardinals played the Seahawks and the Lions played the Commanders. Seattle beat Arizona 44-42, 44-22. Detroit beat Washington 44-22. Before Sunday, there had been one AFL game in 1967 and one game earlier this season in which there was a 44-22 final. In all of pro football history, 44-22 had happened only 2 times, and then it happened twice Sunday in games being played at the same time. What are the chances of 2 NFL games being played at the same time, each finishing with a score of 44-22? According to 2 recreational poker friends of mine, Neil Weber and Scott Packer, the chances are approximately 50-50. It either happens or it doesn't. Time for NFL picks. Unfortunately, at this juncture, I must advise anyone faint of heart to depart, because what I'm about to say is going to be difficult to digest. You know, I've been doing this a long time, For a dozen years, I picked every game against the point spread every week with decent success. The last several seasons, I just select 5 games a week. This past week, for the first time ever, I was 0-5. There's no way around 0-5. A pregnant, blindfolded wildebeest could have had a better record than me this past week. At this point, I could not pick a lemon off of a lemon tree. But hey, I'm not always the numbskull that I appear to be at this current time. Let me remind you all. Okay, let me just show you. Here's the last 4 seasons of me picking games against the spread. These are pretty good numbers, see? Well above 500 each and every year. Okay? Anyway, before going any further, I'm reminded of the story and the fate of New York Giants head coach Brian Daboll. In his first season in 2022, he was NFL Coach of the Year. Daboll started that season 7-2. Since then, he is 13-38-1. He was fired this week. Sadly, I cannot fire myself. So this is what it was, and this is what I am right now. That was pretty good. Another 0-5 week, and that is an ugly season record. As I said, I cannot fire myself. I answer to no one here. Plus, actually, I've got some people who answer to me. So we march on and hope not to string back-to-back 0-5 weeks. What are the chances of that? Probably 50-50. Commanders at Dolphins. Okay, the Dolphins won last week by 17 points, and the Commanders lost last week by 18 points. So how are the Dolphins only 2.5-point favorites here? Because they are the Dolphins. My goodness, Miami had lost 4 of its previous 5 games, and they've been beaten by at least 22 points 3 times this season. But how about these wretched Commanders? In the last 4 weeks, they're allowing 38 points a game and 7.37 yards per play to the other team. Okay, forget about the .37. Just 7 yards a play is a lot. This game will be played in Madrid, part of the NFL's continued colonization of the rest of the world. But why is the NFL sending 2, 3, and 7 teams to Spain? Shouldn't Roger Goodell be sending these teams to one of those shithole nations that the president is always whining about? Oh yeah, I also forgot. Okay. 2 of the Commanders' last 4 losses are by that score of 44-22. What are the chances? Well, what are the chances that inexplicably I'm taking the Commanders and 2.5 points here? Buccaneers at Bills. It's hard to believe these Buffalo Bills are Super Bowl bound when they've lost to the Dolphins by 17 points and to the Falcons by 10 points. That would be like Ben Affleck getting turned down for dates by Greta Thunberg and Nancy Pelosi and still marrying Jennifer Lopez. The key to this one is the fact the Buccaneers have covered the spread in 4 of 5 away games this season. Why? Baker Mayfield loves the road. The Bucs stay at Doubletree Hilton's, and Baker is a big fan of the check-in free chocolate chip cookie and those great soft king beds. Okay, I need 2 Bucs players listed as questionable: running back Bucky Irving and wide receiver Chris Godwin to man up and play hurt. Remember, boys, there is a difference between being injured and being hurt. If you're injured, sure, you sit out. But if you are just hurt, walk it off. Meanwhile, Bills tight end Dalton Kincaid is nursing a bad hamstring. Hamstrings are tricky. My hamstring almost kept me off the air today, so I am recommending Kincaid sit this one out. I am taking the Buccaneers and 5.5 points. Time for the calendar game of the week. Bengals at Steelers. Let's talk about the 2 coaches here, Zach Taylor and Mike Tomlin. The Bengals are giving up 33 points a game, worst in the NFL. No playoff appearances since 2022, and no Joe Burrow a good deal of the time since then. Zach Taylor's record, 49 wins, 58 losses, and 1 tie. So how's he still coaching in Cincinnati? Well, Bengals ownership tends to be cheap, and Taylor's contract at $4.5 million a year runs through the end of 2026. Okay, if I were the owner, Mike Brown, I wouldn't want to have to pay off $4.5 million to someone no longer working for me. Do you know how many 6-packs of Dr. Brown's black cherry soda you can get for that money? All right, let's move on to Mike Tomlin. A regular season record of 188, 110, and 2, but a lot of postseason struggles. This is Tomlin's 19th year coaching the Steelers, and he's never had a losing season. Coincidentally, this is my 19th year married to my current wife, Tony. And to be honest, I think I've had a bunch of losing seasons, but Tony can't leave me in blue. Tony loves us. Hey, Aaron Rodgers, can you do me a solid? Do something for me this week? I'm taking the Steelers as a 5.5-point favorite. Chargers at Jaguars. It seems like this point spread should be larger, and it seems like the Chargers should just walk into Jacksonville and roll. The Jaguars last week lost, blowing a 29-10 lead. That's bad. The Jaguars were ahead 29-10 going into the fourth quarter and lost. That's really bad. The Jaguars allowed the Texans to score 26 points, 26 straight points in the fourth quarter in blowing that game. That's really, really bad. How are the Jaguars going to stop Justin Herbert when they have allowed Davis Mills and Geno Smith to each throw for almost 300 yards in the past couple of games? That's right. When Jacksonville blew that 29-10 lead last week to the Texans, it was against Houston's backup quarterback, the one and only Davis Mills. Yet I am going to roll with Jacksonville on this one. This is the Chargers' 4th trip to the Eastern time zone this season. They have not covered in any of those earlier games. Plus, they opened the season in Brazil. They will travel more miles this season, 37,806, than any team in NFL history. The Chargers are road weary, and they don't stay at Doubletree Hiltons. I am taking the Jaguars +3. Ravens at Browns. The suddenly red-hot Ravens have won 3 straight, and their once-beleaguered defense has allowed under 20 points in each of the last 4 games. Meanwhile, the Browns lost last week to the Jets, who are trying to lose. The Jets are trying to lose games to get the NFL's overall number 1 draft pick. How do you lose to the Jets? This is how you do it. You become the first team since 1940 to commit no turnovers and hold the opposition to under 170 yards offense and still lose. Congratulations, Cleveland. Heck, the Browns now, they can lose out the rest of the season and they might get the number 1 overall pick. Anyway, I am tired. Every time I pick against the Ravens, I get screwed. They always cover when I pick against them. And I'm tired of picking against John Harbaugh. Okay? But I can never bet on both Harbaughs in 1 week, and I never should bet against both Harbaughs in 1 week. I have picked against Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers this week, so here I will go with John Harbaugh's Ravens, giving 8 points. AI is here to stay. The rest of us are not. An AI-generated song has reached number 1 on Billboard's Country Digital Song Chart. You heard me right, and by next week you will not be hearing me, as an A1-generated Norman Chad will be sitting in this very seat. Some AI slop is the number 1 country song in America. The AI band is called Breaking Rust. The song is called Walk My Walk. I listened to it, and mind you, I have a tin ear, and it sounded very listenable. Walk My Walk has been streamed more than 3 million times on Spotify. It is a new dawn. I mean, it's weird. Country music, like the blues, are genres more based on authenticity, authentic expression and feelings than any other musical variant, but authenticity can be faked. Will AI destroy art? No, but it's going to make a lot of human artists reconsider their career paths. Frankly, the future is here, and I don't think we're a part of it. Do gambling and politics ever intersect? Where else but in Nevada would a high card draw decide the result of an election? Let's go to the small town of Gerlach, Nevada, 100 miles north of Reno. In last year's Gerlach General Improvement District Board of Directors race, 5 individuals ran. The top 3 vote getters would serve 4-year terms. Longtime friends Carl Kopech and Seth Schrenschel both ran. They both received 67 votes out of the 335 cast, tying for 3rd place. One would serve and get the seat, and one would not. How do they decide it? According to Nevada state law, the tiebreaker is determined by lot. In this case, a high card draw. Schrenzel won a coin toss, allowing him to select his card first. He drew the 7 of diamonds. Hey. Kopech then was a favorite to win the seat. He's a favorite to outdraw him, but he selected the 5 of clubs. 7 of diamonds is the winner. 5 of clubs is the loser. There was no replay challenge. Carl Kopech gets the seat. One curious footnote. I went online to look for some background information on Gerlach, Nevada. Here's the interesting thing. Listen up. Wikipedia says the population of Gerlach, per the 2020 census, is 130. There were 335 votes counted in this election. Huh. I don't know. Okay. Even if every woman of age in town had a baby or two between 2020 and 2025, none of those children would be eligible to vote yet. Okay. Population 130, but 335 votes cast. I can't figure it out. I won't even try. But it recalls for me something that poker legend Amarillo Slim Preston used to say. Slim said the population of Amarillo, Texas never changes because every time a woman there gets pregnant, a man leaves town.
That was easy.
Oh, wow. We got something new.
That was easy.
That was easy. Before we wrap up, I'm going to say this one time and one time only. If I got to pay more for less anymore, I'm more or less going to stop buying anything. Okay, I've talked about this before, and I'm going to talk about this again because it's gotten worse. There is inflation where we pay more for goods. There is shrinkflation where companies reduce the size of goods. So what happens when we're paying more and we're getting less? Inflation plus shrinkflation equals fuckflation. I don't want to say that word again, but we are getting fucked. Let's just use orange juice as an example. 64 ounces, always the standard carton size for most brands. Now it went to 59 ounces. Then it went down to 52, and now some brands have it down to 46. From 64 to 46 ounces, that's shrinkage of nearly 30%. And that would be bad enough at the same price, but orange juice prices have gone way up. They've almost doubled. Fuckflation. They have left me with no choice. I just planted an orange tree. With any luck, I'll be drinking orange juice again in, 7 to 10 years. That will do it for another edition of Gambling Mad with Norm and Chad. Hope to see you again next time. And remember, if you're going to roll the dice, Make sure they're loaded.
I went to the Bahamas a couple of years ago for work, and after a couple of days, I could not believe what I was thinking. I told my colleagues, I am so tired of looking at cleavage. It's as if every soul from the Midwest descended on Paradise Island and decided it's cleavage week. I was cleavaged out. Which brings us to Hooters, longtime Hall of Fame home of bosoms, knockers, and jugs. I thought we caught a break when Hooters operators filed for bankruptcy earlier this year. But no, the original co-founders have decided to save the chain. One co-founder told Forbes, more than ever, America needs us. No, we don't. Another co-founder said they had a moral obligation to restore Hooters. No, you don't. Have you ever looked at the Hooters menu? Fried pickles, cheese sticks, tater tots, the big fish sandwich, dessert shooters, and of course, chicken wings. Do we need more chicken wings in America? No. Do we need more restaurants in America? No. Do we need more tank tops and orange shorts? No. As Julia Child is my witness, if one more bubbly blonde with bouncing boobs and chirpy cleavage serves another order of Hooters Daytona Beach style wings within 100 miles of my front door, I will go gambling mad.
Gambling Mad with Norman Chad is written by Norman Chad and ghost written by Norman Chad. Executive producers are John Scheinberg and Rick Barrio-Dill. Produced by Norman Chad and Rick Barrio-Dill. Our associate producers are Bree Khoury and Asher Friedberg, and edited by Asher Friedberg with studio facilities at 360 Pod Studios, Beverly Hills.